legend. For the past 10 years, Glenn's warmth and sunshine have blessed the GSB. He's larger than life. He makes every person feel like the most special person in his presence. We're honored to gain the last bit of his life lessons in today's last lecture. But before we begin, in true winning writing style, the first lesson we're taught is know your audience. So today, we want you to know your Glenn. He's the alum of one of the most prestigious daily newspapers, the Stanford Daily. He's the son of a mother who was so obsessed with Scotland, she named him and his brothers after Scottish plaids. Note, his mom has zero connections to Scotland. He was the teenager who chose to attend Stanford for college to be close to Willie McCovey, his favorite player on the SF Giants. He's the customer who keeps a stockpile of his favorite cereal in case the store runs out, 5 boxes minimum. He's the dog lover who uses a special voice to talk to his dogs, and a special noise to tell them it's time for a walk. He's the athlete who cycles his age every year, and from the words of his therapist, Herb Grausbeck, Glenn brings light with his spirit. In particular, he brings light to the landmark class we all know and love.
Winning Writing. This year marked the 10th anniversary of Winning Writing. One of the most in-demand, beloved classes at the GSB, a class with a waiting list of 100 plus students in any given quarter. Who would have thought that so many of us would have gotten this far without knowing how to write? So, what has been the impact of taking a writing class in business school? We thought best to speak to those that came before us. A class of 22 alum said he thinks of Glenn every day. Apparently, after the GSB, he said, "You're always writing." He says he can't help but cringe at the sight of "I hope you're well" helping an email. And he's now on a self-funded crusade to convert his colleagues to Glenn's gospel of good writing. A class of 17 alum said Glenn was the professor that most impacted him in the GSB. He said that through writing, Glenn made him rethink and redraw his career to strengthen what mattered most to him. This alum also recently hosted Glenn at his place in Mexico City and accidentally locked him in the apartment. Talk about creative ways of holding on to your friends. A class of 21 alum who didn't even take Winning Writing mentioned Glenn's deep, heartfelt desire to help all GSB students. During the pandemic, he sought Glenn's help to draft cold emails to Fortune 500 leaders to secure donations of grocery gift cards. The CEO of Kroger replied, and Kroger became their first corporate donor. The seeds of that cold email evolved into a national nonprofit that has distributed over $60 million to families in need. Writing matters, but beyond writing, the real game changer has been to know Glenn.
Glenn is able to make a 3-hour-long class fly by with his levity and humor. He goes to incredible lengths to keep us all engaged. He dresses up as an old prospector to help us save ourselves from repeating the errors of generations past. He welcomes us to laugh and learn with him using examples from his own mistakes and misfortunes. He constantly reinforces the dangers of using unnecessary adverbs by making us all watch videos of terrible singing every time we use the word currently. But best of all, Glenn makes each student feel like they're the most important person in the world. He encourages us to be givers, to stay positive, to say what we like and what we would like, not what we don't like. His lessons are not limited to simply improving our writing. They help us be better communicators, better partners, and better leaders. They help us reach our full potential. Glenn is not just a beloved teacher, but a mentor and dear friend. So with that, it's our great honor and privilege to introduce our king.
All right, settle down. We've still got one more class session left before you're all free.
I stay at the lectern, other than unlike our other great speakers. So thank you, Debs. My wife Lauren, who is here, says that she got the hair perfect, the glasses perfect, and the bad fitting pants perfect. And thank you, Divine, via. Where's Alex? Oh, okay. Oh, there you are. Okay, hi, Veronica. You guys should have kept going. Much better than me. Okay, so Divine, Via, and Alex are three of our winningest writers, and Divine was also my boss, not only in the GSB show, but as the editor of Non-Disclosure. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So thank you all. And in thanks, I wanted to embarrass you in front of your 400 classmates. There's Via. We do Who's That Kid? There's Divine. And there's Alex. So, okay, so raise your hand if you've taken winning writing. Okay, so a lot of you, okay, terrific. And so I promise you that this will be different from the dead guy's last lecture in the last class, okay? So you can stay tuned, okay? The dead guy will reappear, but in a very different form. So now please join me for our national anthem. And after you see this, you won't need a last lecture. Everything you need to know is in this video.
For America, and salute the men and women serving our country with our national anthem. Please welcome, as voted by you, the fans, our winner of the Toyota Get the Feeling of a Star promotion, Natalie Gilbert.
For you non-basketball fans, that was Maurice Cheeks, a Philadelphia 76ers point guard from my era, to the rescue, but really, you all would do the same. And that's why I love you. Thank you for being here. Being chosen by you to give a last lecture is, for me, an honor greater than any Pulitzer Prize. I mean that. No Pulitzer will ever mean as much to me. Most of all, the last lecture allows me to poll the entire MBA 2 and MSX class about an issue near and dear to me. Stanford football. My king. It used to be great. It used to be great, but it's not so great anymore. Stanford will be lucky to win just a few games every season. So I want you to help me figure out what to do about this. And this is the only chance I get to talk to the whole class. So, you know me. I want to be number one. I'm like Jack Welch. Be number one or number two in the business or get out. I think we should do that with our sports teams too. So let me ask you, for a winning football team, should Stanford loosen academic standards? Raise your hand if they should loosen academic standards. Am I close enough to the microphone? Not too many people are, okay, that didn't get a big response. How about encourage wealthy alumni to play star players? Oh, okay, good. We're getting there. Compete in, let's just say, okay, forget about football. We're going to compete in an Ivy League West against academic schools like Cal Poly, we play them this year, Claremont colleges. I don't think Reed and Lewis and Clark have football teams, but that gives us an advantage. So how many people support that? Okay, a decent number, but so far wealthy alumni replace football with lacrosse. So many of you play lacrosse, yes, the lacrossers, the laxers. How about Quidditch? I think the undergraduates, a lot of you, and I think the undergraduates overwhelmingly would choose this option. Make football a club sport. Now, if you didn't raise your hand, you're fine with Stanford continuing to lose at football. I'm not. And I know it's all about money now, as you know, because you voted for the wealthy alumni. This is from Cabaret. Okay, enough of that. Winning writing. For those of you who slept through the class, or who didn't get in despite super rounding it every quarter, I'm sorry. It's going to change next year. Here's winning writing in 1 minute. Okay, ready? Go. Know your audience.
I mean, this joint right here, is this where it all started, right here, with the rump shaker? Pharrell, is this where it started? Pharrell Williams, the rump shaker.
Yeah. This is one of the most impressive interviews I've ever experienced in my life.
Be one in a million, not one of a million. For example, never forget a cold call letter with "I hope you're well." Thank you guys for mentioning that in the opening. Say what you like and what you would like, not what you don't like. Uplift. Tom Friedman. There are two kinds of critics. Those who criticize you because they want you to fail. Those who criticize you because they want you to succeed. People can spell the difference a mile away. Surprise at least one person daily with a note of gratitude. Keep it simple. Remember the two great masters of language, Shakespeare and Joyce, wrote sentences that were almost childlike when their subjects were most profound. To be or not to be, asked Hamlet. The longest word is 3 letters long. Keep it short. If I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. Convey warmth as well as competence. Example, by the time I left Nest, I'd save the company $2 million a year, competence. Redesigned the packaging and shipping, competence. And interacted with more exotic animals at the company picnic petting zoo than any other employee, warmth. Most important slide, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, people will never forget how you made them feel. Embrace ChatGPT for interesting ideas, but remember, using ChatGPT is like driving a Tesla. If you're not paying attention, you'll pay the price. Avoid useless adverbs. Replace it with a strong verb board. Please encourage the GSB. Okay? And while we're at it, could Stanford please improve the course registration system? Please. One good thing that's happened in the last year, we no longer have a president who writes emails like this. this. That's what we need. Please now, on the count of 3, would all of you blast Sergey Brin to get him to finally answer my email and agree to meet your fellow GSB grad, Misha Isipov, whose company is now huge. Sergey's going to be working for Misha, I predict. So I'm kind of losing you guys, right? That's the end of the 1 minute. I can tell because you're clicking off. Or you're just checking your phone to see if there's an email from grandma. So, okay, I'm going to move on. That's winning writing in 1 minute. I'm going to get serious for a second. I was flattered by this invitation to speak. I'm a lowly lecturer, for heaven's sake. The son of a man so poor, that's my dad, he couldn't go to high school because he had to support his family. That's him during the Great Depression. He had no photos of himself as a boy. I, like some of you, was a first-gen student when I came to Stanford 53 years ago this fall. I was also flattered by the invitation to speak because I was about 3 feet tall in high school and would have been too frightened to talk to the kind of accomplished, charismatic girls who grew up to go to the GSB, let alone speak in front of them. I went to Stanford, but I don't have a PhD or even an MBA. I dropped out of the GSB after 3 days, 47 years ago, after 3 days. During the Stanford commencement processions this Saturday and Sunday, I'll be the only one without the peacock robes connoting advanced degree. I'll be just with a plain black robe. To quote the actor Sterling Brown,
Let me up here talking to these young people, man. This is crazy.
I'm hardly the success story that other last lecturers in this series are. Indeed, while I seem to be decent at winning Pulitzer Prizes, I have terrible judgment when it comes to personal matters. Kind of like the Nobel Prize winner John Nash, the mathematician who devised a brilliant theory to predict how people will behave, but was for decades unable to make sense of his own life. That's Russell Crowe playing Nash in A Beautiful Mind, which started as a story in my business section at the New York Times. How many of you have seen A Beautiful Mind? Wow. Okay, so you know this story. So here are 2 examples of my lack of good judgment. I've moved to California twice in the past century. As these guys mentioned, I moved a half century ago. For this guy, Willie McCovey, I had never heard of Stanford when I was 17 years old. It's true. Let's see, hold on 1 second. I applied entirely because it was the closest college to Candlestick Park, where McCovey and the San Francisco Giants played. I didn't even know whether Stanford was, as Forrest Gump would have said, a boys and girls college. It never occurred to me. And when Stanford sent its acceptance letter to me 53 years ago this spring, I was too stupid to recognize the magnitude of my good fortune. Don't believe me? Here's how I referred to it in my journal. Got into Stanford, unpacked, talked on phone, watched Rangers beat Chicago in overtime. It didn't matter to me. It's changed so much. You might chalk this up to the immaturity of a 17-year-old. But more than 40 years later, after a long career in New York, I did something even stupider. I left my dream job at the New York Times and returned to California to move in with this woman. As many of you know, she changed her mind and 2 years later kicked me out. I was suddenly homeless as well as jobless at the age of 61. My financial advisor likes to remind me of this mistake. He says, not only did you give up a job paying $500,000 a year, that's a lot for a journalist, gang. You also gave up this stock that's risen faster than Google, partly because of Donald Trump. He said, you're a fool. You left millions of dollars on the table, Buster. You are. Okay, so let me two pieces of advice in this area. One, never hire a wealth advisor who cackles with laughter every time he does a and never agree to a date set up by your oldest friend. Warning. But now I'm found. I was lost, but now I'm fine, thanks to all of you, including you in the upper deck. Thank you all. Okay, so, here we go. What's my secret? I am the happiest I've been in my 71 years, as exuberant as Scrooge on Christmas morning, or as exuberant as Sam in the GSB show when he realized he was only dreaming of being all alone in the GSB reunion 5 years into the future and could still redeem himself. I cried during that scene. It was amazing. It's you in 5 years. That was such a smart thing to say at the GSB show. Remember how you'll be think about how you'll be in 5 years. Was I poorer than when I was working at the New York Times? For sure. But happy. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So what's my secret? When the Lord closes a door somewhere, he opens the window, as the Mother Superior says in The Sound of Music. I like Helen Keller's even more. When one door of happiness, another opens, but often we look so long at the closed door, we do not see the one which has been opened for us. Note that second part. Ask yourself, are you doing that? Are you staring back at a closed door? If you have one takeaway from this lecture, that's it. When one door of happiness closes, another opens, but often we look so long at the closed door, we don't see the one that's been opened for us. So true. But I have a few more insights. Finding fulfillment requires, saving yourself. Okay, that's not good. Where have you heard that before? Yes, Stanford's only dead guest lecturer, Ebenezer Scrooge's business partner in A Christmas Carol Go Late, the great Sir Jacob Marley, died 1836, is back from the grave with...
What? Save myself? Save myself from what?
Those of you who take winning writing, don't worry, that's the last you're going to see of Jacob Marley. And you're not going to see Old Prospector either. They're both out of this presentation. Instead, some tips. Save yourself by finding fulfillment, by knowing yourself. Know what matters and what you're willing to sacrifice to achieve it. And I'll return to each of these. Be for something and fight for it. Feel comfortable with everyone. Stop to laugh and to exercise and to appreciate. Check out of the GSB as you will this weekend, but never leave. Stop staring at the closed door. We'll come back to that one. Find the open window. Number one, find fulfillment by knowing yourself, by knowing what matters and what you're willing to sacrifice to achieve it. Find fulfillment by doing what you love. Steve Jobs says it best.
And it hits you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking, don't settle.
When I was a senior at Stanford 49 years ago, I was admitted to the GSB. Guess this GSB as a 2+2. Why did I apply? Because I wanted to make money to impress my girlfriend who wanted a wealthy guy. But when I enrolled 2 years later, I knew from day one I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be a journalist. I was miserable. I couldn't sleep. After 3 days, I made the hardest decision of my life. I dropped out of the GSB to take a job on the San Francisco newspaper. I followed my heart, just like Steve Jobs, who at the time was starting Apple Computer in a garage a few miles down the road. The GSB was great about it. Come back anytime, they said. And I did 40 years later to teach. It was the best decision I ever made. As soon as I took the job on the newspaper, I felt the weight lift off me. And doing what I loved carried me through some difficult times. And you know what? I rose to the top of the New York Times and I did just fine financially, or at least until I moved back out here for the woman, but that's a different story. So find fulfillment by remembering that freedom and time can be more important than possessions. I quote my therapist, Dr. Irving Grosbeck. There's a big difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is having money. Being wealthy is having money and time. As you age, time becomes more important than possessions. Example, when I was working at the Times, lived in a beautiful house, 3,000 square foot house just around the corner from Bill and Hill in Chappaqua. After what happened in San Francisco, I rented a tiny cottage in College Terrace that had a bathroom the size of an airline lavatory. One bathroom. Which did I prefer? The cottage was a 5-minute bike ride from the GSB. The house was an hour and a half by train from New York. Time becomes important. Make time for yourself. Lauren Keene, GSB class of 14, helped me create Winning Writing a decade ago. How does she save time? Unlike everybody I know, probably including all your parents, rather than spend hours getting the kids to smile for their Christmas card photo, she says, what the heck? Just take it. It's the best card I've ever received. It's life. It's life. And it's the only Christmas card I ever saved. Find fulfillment by remembering the words of Sheryl Crow. It's not having what you want, it's wanting what you have. In other words, rather than coveting what others have, be grateful for what you have. Finally, here's a wonderful way to figure out who you are and what matters to you. Yep, keep a daily journal. There's nothing like writing down your thoughts to help you realize what's important and what isn't. And it's the best psychotherapy. Also the cheapest. I've kept a journal for 60 years, I know. In fact, I'm trying to break the record for the longest continuous journal. According to Guinness World Records, Colonel Ernest Loftus of Zimbabwe kept a daily diary for more than 91 years. He began at 12 and continued until his death at 103. I have only 31 years left. Do you think I'll make it? Find Fulfillment Part 2. Follow the documentary maker Ken Burns' advice. Be for something. Having a mission energizes you. My most energizing mission right now is getting you students published or written about national newspapers, helping you pitch businesses that will help humanity, and helping you write the letters to get you jobs where you feel found, just as I do. Be for something by trying to say yes as often as possible. Don't be Dr. No. Even yes, but. Yeah, or yes, but what if is better than no. My longtime boss, Dean Beckey, does that, and I quite admire it. Find fulfillment by knowing that there are two types of people. No, not liberals and conservatives, not Republicans and Democrats, givers and takers. Be a giver, not a taker. Find it by remembering that there are two types of people, not liberals and conservatives, not Republicans and Democrats, liberals and illiberals. Be a liberal, not an illiberal. What's an illiberal, you say? Intolerant, narrow-minded, extremist, unenlightened. You see this a lot on the far right and the far left. If your colleagues see this in you, they will avoid you like the plague. And it's nothing to do with what you look like. They just don't want to work with someone like that. Find fulfillment by speaking out for a compromise between the extremes. Whatever happened to compromise? That's what Kaya Patel and Sophie Hassan did a year ago. They said, hey, we've been talking about DEI at GSB for 10 years, nothing has happened. They went to talk to liberals. They went to talk to conservatives, among the students, among the faculty. And they found a compromise. And Sophie, my favorite email last year, hopefully you've heard the news. The faculty board will approve the DEIS requirement. It starts this fall. Very much like GSTs, the studies. You choose from a menu of courses, but you must take something. That's a compromise. And remember, if you say only what you like and what you would like, not what you don't like, you can be much more outspoken without fearing reprisals. Here's an example of saying what you don't like. Protesters last week defaced the Quad, including this graffiti on a plaque honoring Stanford people who served in wars. Not good. And they did it on the eve of the 80th anniversary of D-Day. No, horrific. By the way, I think Stanford should punish those protesters by making them or their parents repair the damage they caused, pay for the repairs, and the protesters should be charged Stanford prices. Like I once went to the ER here for 90 minutes. I got a bill for $62,000. I'm not kidding. So charge those protesters Stanford prices to fix it. You might be surprised once you speak out against such extremists, people might rally around you. The following clip comes from a movie called Witness, starring Harrison Ford. Has anybody ever seen Witness? You should. Peter Weir, made probably 40 years old, okay? So Harrison Ford, you know Harrison Ford, right? Yes. Yeah, okay. So he plays a Philadelphia detective who confronts 3 murderous, corrupt cops on the force. Pretend that Harrison Ford is you. You're getting pushed back by somebody who has a gun to your girlfriend's head. And pretend the corrupt cop with the gun represents the intolerant, self-centered people trying to force you into silence. Here we go from Witness. Illiberal. Confronting the illiberal. This is an Amish country in Pennsylvania. So these are Amish farmers coming from the surrounding community when they heard the warning bell. And they're going to surround the illiberal. Here they come.
Charlie! I'm a police officer. Man's wanted for murder. Now stand back. What are you going to do, Paul? You're going to kill me? You're going to shoot me? You're going to
It's over. Enough. Once you shout enough, people might well rally around you. And then we'll have less of this. Just obscene. Find fulfillment by helping Democrats and Republicans fix this country together. So this is what we can do together. We can do it right. The way they did 60 years ago. My age allows me to remember the political system in which we baby boomers grew up. In the mid-1960s, 60 years ago, the government did lots of good stuff. Republicans and Democrats of my grandparents and parents' generation created Medicare, Medicaid, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, immigration reform, education reform, the Highway Safety Act, Wilderness Act, cleaner air and water, 50 new national parks, highway safety, auto safety, public broadcasting, and much more. Every one of you has benefited from at least one of these programs. But the biggest beneficiaries are, alas, my entitled generation, many of whom retired young to live the easy life. And now they are living into their late 80s and 90s, and congratulations, you all are paying the bill. What saddens me is that many of you worry about climate change, inequality, and helping people in need. We've made insufficient progress, and one big reason is my generation. We cost too much. There's less money left over for other stuff and for the planet. What also saddens me is that my generation would be happier if they contributed more. My good friend Rob Chess reminds me of research showing that giving back keeps you young more than, say, golf or water ballet. We must redefine old age. My generation must remain productive so your generation can thrive. Here's my New York Times piece on that. For the good of the country, older Americans should work more and take less. Because whereas the rich world has around 3 people between 20 and 64 for everyone over 65, in about 25 years it will have less than 2. Got it? My generation's got to do something. Be for something. Be for something. Stick up for Silicon Valley. It will employ many of you. Yes, it has many assholes. Yes, it's made a lot of mistakes, but its inventions, at least for my generation, are nothing short of miracles. Google, Wikipedia, Amazon, the iPhone, even the cursed ChatGPT. Be for something. Thank the immigrants who helped build Silicon Valley. My king. You know this story. I would have lost my job during the pandemic if it weren't for Zoom. And my $2 million mortgage wouldn't have gone away. Especially, it expires when I'm 98. So I got to keep paying until I'm 98. Wish me luck. And finally, before something, Tom Newcomb, fighter pilot, MBA 24. You don't know. So can we do the lightning round? Do you have the questions? Okay, so you would pop it to me. We'll go through this quickly because I want to stay. We'll go a little over, but I know your next event is the brunch. So, okay, so first question. Most annoying writing. Hope you're well, or a 2,000-word email. I vote for hope you're well. Sorry. Thank you. The patio or Alpine Inn? Alpine Inn, I've been going there for 53 years. Sons, yeah. Most persuasive? Statistics? Stories? Yeah, you say stories, I say statistics, but you win. Stories triumph. Most frightening movie ever? None of the above.
Your worst, Mom. You can't be friends with him anymore. Mom, Charlie, Mom,
Most people in my business.
Okay, it's terrifying. Greatest sports play in history. Bryce Love, Ashton Practical. stealing the ball from South Carolina with seconds left in the game that gave Stanford the national championship. There she is, top middle, she's a winning writer. And then number 22 in the center, right under the goal, Cameron Brinks is also a winning writer. She had just blocked a shot that gave Stanford the national championship. And not in the country club sports like golf or tennis, in basketball. It was unbelievable, we won the national. Okay, so I choose this one. Okay, so thank you. Find fulfillment by feeling comfortable with anyone. My dad was this way. There he is with Salvador Dali, who many of you know. He can talk to anybody. But he could also talk to anybody at any level, okay? And Dr. Grosbeck, those of you who went to his last lecture probably heard this. My 9th grade algebra teacher once gave us a 40-minute test. The last question worth 20%. What is the custodian's name? Though it was December and we had seen him every day for 3 months, no one knew his name. He became a person that day, not just a nameless functionary, and our attitudes were permanently affected for the better. So be comfortable with everyone. And by the way, custodians often have great senses of humor. So I worked in a factory when I was in high school. I painted walls. I helped build electronic headsets, and Tom, the custodian, was the best. I took a joke from him that I still tell 50 years later. I probably told it more than any other joke. Here it is. A New Yorker visits his friend in California. New Yorker, coming to California. What would you like to do today? His California friend asks. I'd like to visit San Jose, the New Yorker says. San Jose. It's pronounced San Jose, the California says. We pronounce the J like an H in California. Okay, and tomorrow I'd like to visit the San Joaquin Valley, the New Yorker says. San Joaquin. It's pronounced San Joaquin. I told you, we don't pronounce the J. By the way, when do you think you're going to return to New York? Oh, the New Yorker says, in Hoon or Hulai? Okay, it worked better for me. Make the person you're talking to feel like the most important one in the room. Anybody who's met Bill Clinton knows he does this better than anybody. You've gone to parties where you can tell people looking over your shoulder who else is there. He never does that. I've never understood how he can do that. Appreciate similarities as well as differences. So we're all focusing on differences these days. In fact, we have a lot in common. Here's a joke. At a cocktail party, a Jewish mother meets a handsome, charming young doctor. I must introduce you to my daughter, she says. I'd like that, he says, but I must tell you something. I killed my first wife. Oh, good, the Jewish mother says. Then you're single. Why am I showing this? It's not just Jewish mothers. Substitute your own mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle, or grandparent. No matter where you come from, you know somebody like this. That's the point. We're more alike than different. Appreciate our similarities as well as our differences. Find a mentor, ideally 20 years older. My therapist, Dr. Grosbeck. God, his team is about to win the NBA championship. My dad. People you pass on your way up, you will pass on your way down. So treat them as you want to be treated. I hired this guy 25 years ago at the New York Times. And I knew he was going to be the boss man someday. But that's not the only reason I was nice to him. And now he's being nice to me as the boss man. It really does. You pass them up both ways. Find fulfillment by stopping to laugh and exercise and appreciate. Stop to laugh. Exercise regularly. Those of you in my class know that I once beat the national amateur cycling champion, Coleman Dog, class of 17, in a race from the Fox Theater to the GSB to promote the GSB show. Yes, it's true. I won. Of course, I was racing from the Fox in Redwood City, where the show was, and he was racing from the Fox in Oakland, 37 miles away. And he did stop for lunch at In-N-Out Burger, but I won by 3 minutes. Find fulfillment by appreciating. It's amazing stuff. Stop it and say, it's transforming our lives in good ways, too. Larry Page, Silicon Valley allows the world to be lazy. It's true. Find fulfillment by never letting go of the GSB. Not everyone thinks Stanford's number one. I'm warning you, when you get out there, you've already encountered some of this, and when you get out beyond the walls of Stanford, you will find people like this. Here's The Simpsons.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Now I'll never get into an Ivy League school. You're going to Stanford. You're going to Stanford. Take it back. This family is at rock bottom.
I know when you got into GSB, many of your parents said this family has hit rock bottom. Yeah. And a lot of people will say, if we do your life in 6 words, they describe you as smart, arrogant, smug, entitled, and narrow-minded. I know better. Smart, confident, sometimes. Generous, gracious, funny, welcoming. So there's much to love about Stanford. Most of all, I want to thank Rachel Conrad, who helped me expand winning writing. Next year, for the MBA ones, there will be 12 sessions of winning writing instead of 6. So the waiting list will fall from, it was 470 last spring, and I hope to almost 0 by next spring. Most people should be able to take it. So thank you to her. Thank you to my amazing course assistants, some of whom are sitting in this room. This was us. We had triumphal dinner the other night. But Alex, Krista, Bia, Esteban, I saw Esteban out there, Ewan, Mira, Alba, and Anna. Thank you to those amazing course assistants. I appreciate Madhav Rajan, the dean who hired me 10 years ago, and J.D. Schramm, who welcomed me, even as some faculty were asking why the GSB was hiring a remedial English teacher. I appreciate Jonathan Labab, the only tenured faculty member who has reached out to support me repeatedly. The good man. I appreciate the amazing teachers I befriended, whose classes I attended because I had never taught when I got here, and I wanted to watch good teachers. Becky, Keith, David, Doug, Chris, Laura, Allison, and I don't know why I don't have Matt Abrahams in this slide. I should have him there too. I appreciate the effervescent Barbara McCarthy and a remarkable design team, including Steph Woods, who animate my slides. You didn't think I'd create these slides, did you? But I am improving. So here's an example. You can now ask Siri, I determined, to create a PowerPoint slide. Watch this. Siri, create a PowerPoint slide. Okay, maybe not yet. Okay, well, okay. In 5 years, come back in 5 years, you should be doing that. Okay. My friends at the New York Times, who have guest lectured for 10 effing years, dozens of times, Dean, Nick, Nicole, Andrew, Janae, David, bless them. And then you guys, the most amazing. This is autumn morning class, autumn afternoon class. Matthews, you need a haircut. This is winter early morning class. They had to get up really early. Winter later morning class. And then I went on my own again. Spring morning and spring afternoon. So you guys are all the amazing class of 24. So, speaking of good writing, I always say the MBAs are the best writers at Stanford. Nobody believes me, but it's true. I particularly appreciate you who speak English as a second or third or fourth or fifth language, yet you write better than most Americans. GSB writers, I am not worthy. congratulations to the amazing staff of Non-Disclosure, including Divine, Kai, Emmy. They had their latest issue out just this past week. Find it if you haven't read it yet. And then finally the show. Love the show. Favorite event of the year. So just some memories. I always say the show, which was now 6 or 7 weeks ago, is when the roller coaster you're on reaches the top. And then after the show, it's all downhill. In a nice way, in a sentimental way, but you kind of know it's almost over. So here's some nice memories from the show. Unbelievable dancing this year. Vivian and company, congratulations. And then finally, what I predict will someday be a top 20 hit, Single at B School. Listen to yourself cheering. Desperate, I want benefits. They just want friendship. That's quite good. Got back from Siebel, this couple switching got me to thinking they all need therapy. Single at B School in my late 20s, regressed to high school. What a shitty pull. Morning at B Lab, not giving up yet. Our fuckle fellow. He was laughing a lot. Bravo. So remember, after this weekend, they can take you out of the GSB, but they can't take the GSB out of you. The GSB is your Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Finally, find fulfillment, let's go back to where we were in the middle, by staring no longer at the closed door and finding the open window. I have to go back to my notes here. Start by remembering that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. If anybody's seen the movie Wall Street, man looks into the abyss, there's nothing staring back at him. At that moment, man finds his character, and that's what keeps him out of the abyss. The New York Times stared into the abyss after the financial crisis 15 years ago. We borrowed from Carlos Slim at 14%. One Wall Street analyst predicted the day we'd close. But we found the fear of God and fought our way onto the internet with nytimes.com. Circulation has soared to more than 10 million. At least I still have a pension. The United States is now staring into the abyss thanks to politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Here's the good news. The many bigoted, entitled, self-centered members of my generation, the one that follows, will die off. Your generation will have a chance to seize the time, lead us away from the abyss, back toward collaboration, back toward selflessness, back toward generosity. And I have stared into the abyss. 10 years ago, after the woman in San Francisco changed her mind, I was broken. I'd given up the best job I'd ever had to move to California to be with her. Suddenly, I was out on the street. Dare I say, I even walked toward the Golden Gate Bridge at 3 o'clock in the morning on Christmas and looked into the abyss. I was lost, but now I'm found. Lauren, whom some of you know, found me a year later. Still fearful of a close relationship, and she hung in there through my self-doubt. We married 3 years ago this month. I realized more with every day how lucky I am. My daughter Caitlin was there for me, as was her guy McGregor. They're marrying in 2 weeks. Aww. And here's our combined family on vacation in Belize. So all is good. And it turns out the Reverend Mother in The Sound of Music, as repeated by Maria here, was right.
When the Lord closes a door, somewhere he opens a window.
All we have to do is look for it. Thank you. Congratulations. All the best. Enjoy your own commencement.